Pressure coming from Adams. And that's abandoned. And it's picked off. Julian Love. Smith, screen. Jaxon-Smith Njigba. Resilient Cleveland team with some toughness and resilience of their own. Geno Smith.
Nothing is there. What the?
Okay, guys, that might have been the closest we've ever been to seeing Browns Twitter be nuked after that game. So, Seahawks-Browns, bit of a heartbreaker loss. The way they fought back from the deficit in the first quarter, I thought it was very valiant. It was sad to see that one as a loss, but deep down, I know I never really share my predictions of games, but before the season started, I went through, I actually picked every game in the NFL. I had that one chalked up as a loss. I wasn't expecting much. However, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into 3rd and 3. Was it the right call to throw the ball? Should we have run? Should Stefanski be fired? Again, hilarious that we're getting to that point where people are jumping on Twitter after the game saying that Stefanski should be fired. It's amazing. We're going to get into all of that today. But let's start first with the defense. So once again, it seems like the defense has been figured out to some degree by the opponents. That was just bound to happen. You're not going to hold teams to these tiny, 200 yard per game type games. That's not realistic. If it was, this would be an all-time defense. I know historically, statistically, where they were at in those first 5 games, but I think a lot of what the Cleveland Browns defense is very akin to what the Miami Dolphins offense is. It's not that it's fake. It's a great scheme. There's amazing players. The Dolphins have the best offensive weapon, in my opinion, outside of quarterback in Tyreek Hill. They have a rotation of great running backs when Devin Achane is healthy, Raheem Mostert, they have Jalen Waddle. They have all of these pieces together that make it so effective, and they had the most yards through the first 5 games in NFL history. Then the Browns have the least yards given since 1971 with their defense, the way they were performing through the first 5 weeks. So I think they're very similar there. It doesn't ruin the validity. The Miami Dolphins offense is still great. The Browns defense is still great. But when it comes down to it, sometimes the strength that other defenses have, particularly the Baltimore Ravens, is more valid because they're better at the fundamentals. They're better at open field tackling. Their linebackers play more aggressive and more downhill. I think JOK is great, but we're seeing again, Anthony Walker is kind of a plug and play guy. He's not a game breaker. He's not an absolute dog the way that Roquan Smith is. And that is that attitude that I think you need in the second level to be dominant week in and week out. And that's missing because we just were getting gashed once we were getting to the second level. Like they had, I think, a 45-yard run at one point on that first or second drive, and those are backbreakers early on because it leaves a defense on their toes. You can't sit back and be comfortable and get after the quarterback when you're getting gashed on big runs like that. And I think also just that whole first quarter, they were one half step away from making the play on Geno Smith multiple times where they're chasing him down from the backside with the pass rush. There's a slip, there's a fall, there's just enough of a hold that doesn't get called that allows Smith to get free and find Tyler Lockett, because you can't guard Tyler Lockett for 6 seconds. He's too shifty, he's too explosive. So enough of those individual battles weren't won early enough in that game. Schwartz is still a great coach, but in terms of like that X factor championship level defense, I just don't think you can do it without a true great middle linebacker like a Luke Kuechly, a Ray Lewis. I think a Roquan Smith is that kind of guy, and I don't think we have that dog in the middle right now being that field general. One thing that's been kind of disappointing, and not disappointing meaning like it was a bad decision, it's just he hasn't really delivered fully, is Za'Darius Smith. Multiple times this season, he's had a quarterback, a guy running a jet sweep, a running back in his grasp and just hasn't finished the play, and it's wound up leading to big plays. That's one thing with him where we would like to obviously see him capitalize on those moments when he has a guy in his grasp. Just finish the play, get home. I think sometimes when you have a guy like Myles Garrett, you're just depending on him to be the one to put that exclamation point on a drive to finish it off with a sack. We need those other guys to come up in those big moments as well, and specifically Za'Darius Smith. We really haven't seen him have a big game-changing moment yet, so I think that's really important and something that needs to be pushed for to get him to step up in those certain environments and certain games when Garrett is just getting so much attention individually. Between the first quarter and the end of the fourth quarter, I thought the defense played great overall. They showed the attitude, they fought back, they didn't get down, they bent, but they didn't break in a lot of ways. But again, it's just the size of our defensive back sometimes, specifically on the game-winning touchdown with Jaxon-Smith Njigba not being able to get off of those blocks. Those are key things that are fundamentals where we're lacking in key moments. And those are the things with the defense that worry me the most. You can't just depend on a pass rush. You can't just depend on great man coverage. It comes down to the buzzword of playing complementary football with each other. The way that a pass rush and coverage are tied together. It all has to work together for it to work. It did for periods in that game. Great teams have to overcome adversity. And if they continue to come and fight back every week, that is a sign of a healthy team. I think you saw that in general with the way they responded after the first quarter. Being down 17-0 is a huge hole, and teams in the past would have collapsed. And this is a good transition into the offense, and Stefanski is a head coach and is a play caller in that game. So to start off, I think that Stefanski called a beautiful game. What did they do? What did Stefanski do to help his quarterback, his practice squad quarterback, and his kind of banged up offensive line? They dominated the screen game. The one to Pierre Strong down the sideline, David Njoku really showing up, having his best game probably since Tampa Bay last year with the one-handed catch. It was just a great job of slowing down the aggressive nature. They made them have to play and respect the run, the pass, and ease things up for PJ to be able to step back and make some decent throws downfield. Like, he made some great throws to Amari Cooper on those corner routes against cover 2, throwing underneath that deep safety, getting DTR in the mix for that one read option shovel play that he came in for. I thought that meant a lot on another level in terms of, are we going to see DTR come to play again at some point this season? But in general, a good game plan, executed well, all in all. However, you're still playing with a practice squad quarterback, so let's go into that. PJ Walker's performance did some really good things, used his legs a little bit more, made some throws that he needed to. However, specifically in the red zone when he missed the crossing route to Elijah Moore, throws it to Amari Cooper. It's kind of tied to the mistake that would wind up happening later in the game on the 3rd and 3. He spoke about, before his first start, how he talked to Jacoby Brissett, how Jacoby said, hey man, when it comes down to it, Amari Cooper's your guy. Throw it up to him. If he's getting one-on-one, throw it up to Amari Cooper. That was the same thing that limited Jacoby Brissett from winning games. Sometimes he got locked in on one guy rather than working through a progression, rather than going to the best person for that particular play, the person who would be open, the check down, the crossing route, whatever it might be. We saw that in that red zone. He was locked in because he saw Amari Cooper one-on-one. He's like, okay, I'm going to throw it up to our best receiver out on the fade ball, but you're not elite with your accuracy throwing a back shoulder ball. You know, that's a route and a throw that takes weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of timing and chemistry to get right. So that was one thing where you're passing up a touchdown to an open guy because you're too locked in on the guy who is the savior, the guy who you've been chucking up balls to in your 3 starts, and he's just been making plays when it's mattered. So that was a big thing. And that's just something where you can't coach around that when somebody has their mind made up. A coach's job is to put you in the right position to succeed. And then a player has to go out there and execute those plays. That is the only reason why the game was as close as it was. If Stefanski was a bad play caller and a bad coach, that game would have been an absolute blowout. They wouldn't have taken back the lead. So sometimes, yes, it does go down to the players. They were in the right position to succeed multiple times. They didn't execute. So 3rd and 3, let's talk about this because this was the biggest explosion post game where people are saying it's a fireable offense for Stefanski for not running the ball there. Okay, this is a very layered thing. And I kind of went off. Follow me on Twitter because I tweet throughout the games. I think you guys would enjoy it. A lot of the thoughts that I reflect on in these videos, I'm putting out in real time there. So sometimes it's a little reactionary, but some good stuff. So give that a follow. Immediately after the game, I was just going at people who were saying this is a fireable offense by Stefanski for not running the ball on 3rd and 3. Let's break this down a little bit. And you need to understand my position. I might, if I was the play caller in that game, maybe I run the ball. Maybe I'm saying, okay, PJ Walker, I can't necessarily trust him. He's thrown interceptions in these scenarios before. So maybe we should just run the ball, keep the ball on the ground. But this attitude and revisionist history that we just would have gotten 4 yards on a long 3rd and 3, it doesn't work like that. It's like that is not guaranteed. So what would have happened? Okay, it's 3rd and 3. There's one play before the 2-minute warning. You're on the opposite side of your 50. Let's say you hand the ball off. You get stuffed 1 yard short. So in that scenario now, it's 4th and 1. You can either punt it or you can go for it. You're obviously not going to go for it, so you have to kick it. The clock has stopped because you had one play before the 2-minute warning. So now Seattle is getting the ball back at a minimum with 1 minute and 45 seconds left and 2 timeouts. And what always happens late game in every single game, you start to play a bit softer coverage. Maybe there's a PI call. They work down the field. And regardless, when they got the ball back after the interception, they drove, 57 yards and scored a touchdown left. And there were still 38 seconds on the clock after that. So Stefanski put him in a position to complete a simple pass to win that game. And he didn't. And you can't coach like that. You cannot say, okay, it is a crucial moment. We are now limited in what we can do. You have to expect that people can execute basic plays. And again, I understand the other answer could be right. You could run the ball there. You could get the first down. Maybe even you punt it and you pin them inside the 5-yard line and Myles Garrett comes up with a big play. But is that really how you would want a coach to coach? Let's look at it the other way. Let's say they complete the pass. The ball doesn't bounce off Jamal Adams' head and get picked off. Instead, PJ Walker comes off of that the second he sees a safety blitzing in his passing lane, turns, throws the check down to Jerome Ford. We get the first down. Everyone praises Stefanski for saying, what an aggressive, ballsy call. Great job. I'm so happy we didn't play it safe. Run, get stopped, and give them the ball back while they're at home. Who do you think's going to have the momentum? Seattle gets the ball back in that game. They kick a field goal and it goes to overtime. I like the aggressive nature to play the win, and I don't think that came down to Stefanski trying to outsmart everyone whatsoever. It was a simple play. Double slant, come off of it, go to the check down, you win the game. So it didn't go that way. To have everyone just immediately collapse again and say, the Browns are the Browns, Stefanski sucks, this and that. Like, it's not Josh McDaniels kicking a field goal down 8 with 2 minutes left. Like, is that what you want? Is that the kind of coaching that you want? This wasn't like an analytics-based decision either. They needed 3 yards. They were going to load the box. If they ran the ball, that is a tough first down to get. And again, I'm not saying that running the ball in that situation would have been wrong. It would have been a fine call too. It's just this attitude that it was guaranteed to work is ridiculous, because either way, see, if they were short, if it was an incomplete pass on the throw, or if they were short on the run, they were still getting the ball back with almost 2 minutes and 2 timeouts. So you can't stop them with 57 yards to the end zone to score and win that game. It's just like to say, well, oh, if they were backed up more, it wouldn't have happened. You can't necessarily make that argument. That is like the same as saying, oh, Stefanski made an analytical decision by passing, and that's what always winds up biting them in the back. It's like you could say the same thing about trying to kick and pin them deep. That's an analytical decision that's being made. They still had a chance to win. They still had a chance to stop that offense. The defense that has been so great and people have been praising had an opportunity to stop them. They didn't. Overall, the team didn't play complementary football as a unit. So where does that leave us? 4-3. Now let's take a look around the AFC North. Baltimore's rolling. I don't know how valid they are as a team. I still look at Cincinnati and I think that they will win this division. That's how I felt. That was my pick going into the year. And then I had Baltimore as the 7 seed, Cleveland as the 6. Maybe Cleveland winds up being a 7 seed. Who knows? It doesn't matter. You just have to get a ticket to the dance, and you just have to win enough games until Watson is healthy. The Watson situation continues to be odd. There's a lot of people who, again, are speculating maybe there's a rift within the team between him. I think he wants to play. I think you don't gain anything in terms of restoring your public image by not playing and just collecting money. I think that's a ridiculous take. However, we will have to see, because who knows? We have to remember, Watson's played 3 games this year. He was 2-1, and again, hasn't played since. He had 2 not great performances. The Pittsburgh one was really bad. The Bengals one was he did enough to do well. And the Titans game was he really looked great and back to form. So if he doesn't play this week, which I think it's come out now that he will not play against Arizona, you have to pray that you can run the ball well enough and the defense can shut down Arizona enough with a rookie quarterback where you can be 5-3 rolling into Baltimore and Pittsburgh and have Watson back and healthy to go. But my concern is that it has once again been so long since he's played that we have no idea how he's going to look. So you have to go into those games continuing with the same sort of game plans that Stefanski's been dialing up for PJ Walker, because it has looked like he's saying, okay, I know PJ Walker is not the guy who can just hang back there and just distribute the ball accurately all game long. So let's get the screen game going. Let's get the run game going. You have to treat Deshaun Watson the same way when he comes back. If you looked at the missed crossing route in the red zone to Elijah Moore because he's locked on Amari Cooper, people go, oh my God, that's such an easy play. It's such an easy play to hit. And it's not impressive when a good quote unquote quarterback does it. But that's what being a good quarterback is, man. A lot of it is just hitting the layups. It's improvising, extending a play, knowing what protection to call in a certain environment, knowing to check in and out of certain plays depending on a defense. But a lot of it is just hitting the layups, and that is what we need Watson for. To hit those layups, to capitalize on opportunities the same way he did against Tennessee, hitting those deep shots. And this is the other thing we have to remember with Watson. He was the guy making those unbelievable touch throws down the sideline to DPJ, Amari Cooper. Those are world-class throws. So that person is still there. He's going to come back. He's going to be rusty, but you got to give him the grace through the rest of the season because there's no other option. And this is the thing with the Browns Twitter and the Browns fans who are very pessimistic. Believe me, there is a time where we might have to have the conversations where we're not just being optimistic like, oh yeah, everything's great. Everything's fine. We're great, but the whole house is on fire. I'm just saying we are not there yet because the team is 4-3. They're above 500. They're the number 7 seed in the playoff race right now. And it's been a season where we haven't had our starting quarterback for 4 out of the 7 games that we've played. So things are looking pretty good, all things together. The fact that our head coach has done so well with so much uncertainty at the most important position in sports is a sign that it's the right guy. So we just have to keep that perspective. Again, you can be optimistic and a realist, but we are not at the point where the house is on fire. This team is built to win now, so they just have to get their quarterback back and get him up to speed. They can be the 7 seed rolling into the playoffs and just hit their stride magically. It could happen. And I just think, again, you have to be rallying behind your guys because it's all that you've got. The trade deadline has passed. You don't have a first round pick next year. You're locked in with Watson. Firing a coach mid-season, and I know not a ton of people on this channel are yelling that, but that's just like the Twitterverse is yelling that. Firing your coach mid-season will do nothing. What are you going to do? Go to Jim Schwartz, a defensive head coach who's also had questionable performances the past couple of weeks? Is that really what you want? Or do you want the guy who can take a practice squad XFL quarterback, come out of a 17-point hole, take the lead, and be one bad bounce away and one check down throw away from winning in a crazy environment on the road for the third straight game with PJ Walker? Really, you have to have a full picture view. So, Arizona, again, it is going to be a tough game. They have to make this quarterback's life a living hell going into Arizona. So it'll be very interesting to see. But again, if someone told us Deshaun Watson will play 3 games and then won't play at all, will have a hurt shoulder, Nick Chubb will be out for the year, how would we feel? What do you think we think our record would be? We would probably say, oh, being 500 would be fine, or even 1 game under would be realistic. That's not the case. They're 4-3. They're a bad bounce from being 5-2. Opportunity to be 5-3 now. You just got to keep rolling, man. And that's the reality. The reason why I'm an optimistic Cleveland fan, it's not because I believe so wholeheartedly in the talent of the team, of the coaching staff. It's just the fact of the matter is, when you're in the foxhole, when you're in the battle, there's no time to second guess the commands that you're giving from your captain, from the general calling the shots. You got to buy in and deliver regardless of what the plan is, because any plan is better than no plan. It just comes down to executing. And I think that is the singular word that would describe what needs to be done from the players. As much as we hold the coaches accountable, the players need to be held accountable. If you are on the field playing, you are a pro football player, you're expected to make basic plays, make basic blocks, make certain catches, and make certain throws. They just didn't deliver. And again, it's the 3rd and 3 call all comes down to if they execute it. If they execute a simple play, Stefanski is looked at as a genius. But those things can change like that with the bounce of a ball. So don't quit on these guys, because there's no answer. There's no better answer coming right now. If you do feel that Stefanski should be fired, don't just say Stefanski should be fired. Give an actual realistic option for who you think would come in and turn the team around better. Again, if you feel like Stefanski should be fired, or if you see people saying that, challenge yourself or them and say, okay, who is the answer? Because there is not one right now. You want to go get Josh McDaniels? So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're trying to get your hands on an Optimistic Cleveland Fan Club sticker, hopefully you can see it there. They're pretty nice and big bumper stickers, honestly. They're bigger than I realized they would be. If you ordered, they are being sent out this week. I really appreciate everyone for ordering. It's been, just the initial bumps of figuring stuff out on the Shopify site, shipping and all that stuff. So I appreciate your patience. I think there's about 15 of these left, or 12 or something. So you can go to the site, optimisticfanclub.com. I'll link that below. You can buy one of these, show out against the negative, the pessimist and whatnot. So really excited about these. This is the first merch thing that we're getting out there, but there's definitely much more to come and a lot of items I want to get. So there'll probably be another drop with different items, some things to get excited about as we head towards the Christmas season and the winter. So be on the lookout for that. Again, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Guys, sharing these videos really helps them grow. Commenting on it, interacting with one another, giving your opinion makes me interested to see and get some perspective on where people's heads are at, but also it's just like fun and it just really helps boost things. So I appreciate everyone who engages like that. We're building something great here. There's a lot coming down the line. I have a ton of ideas for different things. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one, and check out the trade deadline recap posted as well. I will link that at the end of this video, and we will see you soon.